The team tied for second, just 2 points behind Vegas in this division, tied with the LA Kings for second place, and that is the Seattle Kraken. So, Chad, of course, you've got your Jared McCann jersey up behind you. Good timing. He got a hat trick in that blowout win over the Blackhawks over the weekend. I've got my Kraken hat on. They're absolutely rolling right now, and they're in second place, tied for second, in this division. 56 points in 42 games. Who the hell saw this coming? Chad, I know you said they'd be a good team going into this season. Case and I weren't that sure, but they're proving a lot of people.
Still not that
sure. they're proving a lot of people wrong right now, and so Case, your grade for the Seattle Kraken.
I'm sure some people are going to be pissed off at this based off where they are in the standings, but I give them a B+. Again, I'm going to list my positive and negatives here. First of all, first positive, they're second in the division. No one saw that coming, so that's a clear one. The other one is they've been so great on the road, second best road team in the league after the Devils. Seven game road
win streak
series swept.
Yeah.
It's a series. It's not just the win streak, because the Devils had way more than a 7-game win streak on the road. It's a series, which is the first first time in NHL history. So that's amazing. The other positive I have for them is goals. But there's a backhanded compliment or a backhanded positive on this one, as they're shooting a ridiculous 11.25%. That's by far the highest in the league. Second to seventh are in the 9% range, and they're at 11.25. So I'm saying they might be overperforming when it comes to goals, and things might equal out here, because the negatives I have for them is their goaltending is still atrocious. They haven't really cracked that code. Martin Jones has been just under league average in my mind. So they need to figure that out. Their penalty kill is the second worst in the entire league. And the last negative I have for them is the Shane Wright situation. I don't really like what happened there, playing him for 3.5 to 6 minutes a night, and then kind of tossing him around, throwing him down the AHL, and when they know that he can't be there that long. I don't know. It's all weird to me. That's a negative in my mind. It's just bad optics and bad voodoo for the team, I guess. But I have them as a B+ because of their goaltending and their penalty kills, and the fact that I think that the goals have to slow down. Jared McCann has 22 goals and 8 assists. What is that?
Yeah, he has really popped off this year. And Case, I don't think you're wrong to point out that some guys are definitely benefiting from a high shooting percentage, scoring more than they've expected, that is. So yeah, I mean, those things are fair, but at the end of the day, they're still sitting in second place right now, which is a massive positive, when a lot of people before the season started didn't think that they would even sniff a playoff spot. And even me, who was high on the team coming into the season, said that they would be a bubble playoff team. So no one was absolutely sold that they would be this
I know
good.
we're doing mid-season grades here,
yeah,
but I still think that they're going to be maybe the last team in or second last team in. I don't think that this second place in their division holds.
100%.
That's why I have them at a B+, because their defense has been okay, but their goaltending and their penalty kill is so bad. That's not a playoff team. Those aren't attributes of a playoff team.
100%. And I'm not saying that when they do make the playoffs, because I think at this point it's not a guarantee that they will make the playoffs, but I think they're pretty well set up. Money Puck right now has them at 93% chance to make the playoffs. So
yeah,
it would be shocking if they fell out at this point, now that we're almost 50 games into the 82-game regular season. But Seattle, given their flaws, despite their flaws, I don't think you can give them anything less than an A+ in my mind, because heading into the season, nobody thought that they would even sniff a playoff spot, and people who were high on the team, like myself, thought that they would just be a bubble team. So I think the fact that they are in a playoff spot right now and kind of handling some really good teams in the process over this last couple week stretch is a really good sign. So they have they added guys like Bjorkstrand, Burakovsky, Matty Beniers obviously has come into the mix. Jared McCann has improved this year. And even a guy like Eli Tolvanen, like it just seems like everything is going right for them up front. And yes, I'll admit, Case, the goaltending hasn't completely solved itself. But what's the one thing that I keep coming back to with this team and teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins? It's like if they just get league average goaltending, they'll be okay. And to this point in the season, again, almost 50 games in, Martin Jones has been slightly above average in terms of my favorite stat, goals saved above expected, just very slightly. And Philip Grubauer has been just very slightly below average. So they're hovering right at the spot that they need to be. And even if their normal counting stats don't look fantastic, for the goalies that is, they're putting together decent seasons on a team that frankly isn't very good defensively, and the penalty kill numbers sort of indicate that, as you talked about, Case. So I think if they are to add at the deadline, the piece they should look for is a shutdown defenseman. I know every team wants a shutdown defenseman, but I think they're legitimately in a position now to add at the deadline when, at the start of the year, I don't think anybody thought that they would even be this close to a playoff spot.
I think, regardless of where they are in the standings, they're not in a position to buy at the trade deadline. They do not have the stock. They don't have the stock of prospects or picks that they need to be a franchise starting up to go out and spend, especially if they want a shutdown defenseman. That's going to be an arm and a leg in this market. So I don't see them overspending at the trade deadline. I think they're just going to be happy with what they have here.
Fair enough. I could see them being conservative buyers. And the reason I say that is because I heard, Harpen, maybe you can back me up with this if you listen to this part of the podcast, on 32 Thoughts, where Elliot Friedman said that some GMs around the league are looking at early second-round picks this year as valuable as first-round picks next year because this draft is so deep. And Seattle, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure they have 3 second-rounders in this upcoming draft. So I think even one of those could get you a decent player to add at the deadline. And I'm not saying they even should. I'm just saying if they wanted to and if they think that, they're legit, they could if they wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard that as well, and it makes a lot of sense with how strong this draft class is. Daniel Sprong is another player who's been giving them really good depth scoring in their bottom 6, but I don't have a single A+ in my grades for this division, but I will give Seattle an A because I thought they were going to be a lottery team in year 2, and just given how last season went for this hockey club, but they went out in the off season and they addressed goal scoring. This team can score their way out of problems, which is a good thing. In the regular season, in the playoffs, though, you cannot outscore your problems. And so I do think they have a couple of needs if Ron Francis decides to buy. I don't see him being a guy that will take a big swing, but filling in around the edges. Getting another goaltender, like an Alex Stalock, even, for example, who's been pretty good. He's been Chicago's best goaltender, honestly, on a terrible hockey team. He's got a good save percentage, just as an example. And then, maybe a third pair defenseman who can be that shutdown guy, as you mentioned. So I think it'll be more just filling around the edges if Ron Francis does decide to add. By the way, speaking of their blue line, Vince Dunn is the guy who has the most points during that 8-game win streak that ended tonight, obviously.
He's been great.
So he's been fantastic, and they blow me away. They've been a complete surprise. But again, I think the scoring their way out of problems will catch up to them at some point here, just given how the goaltending has been. But they're getting saves at the times that they need saves.
Here's the stat. Here's the one I've been holding in my back pocket ready to say is goals for above expected for the team 25.68. Second place is 15.04. Third is 7.97 in the entire league. They're at 25.68 goals above expected. They're getting ridiculously lucky. And that's what I mean by, the equilibrium's got to kick in here, and they've got to slow down a bit. I'd like to see them in the playoffs. I think it'd be fun, but I don't know if it's going to be second place in Pacific.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And you're not, to kind of conclude this conversation on the Kraken, you're not going to win games. You're not going to win every game 8-4 and rely on Jared McCann to get a hat trick. It's just you're not going to score 6 goals on 7 shots on Peter Mrazek and Alex Stalock. So
yeah, the Edmonton Oilers can't do it with McDavid. So I don't know if